Hey, and welcome to another episode of the Meaningful Marketing Podcast. Today, I have got Andrew Csabi with me, and he's going to be sharing with us his phenomenal story about how he turned tragedy into inspiration as he was involved in the Bali bombings, a survivor of the Bali bombings in 2002. And he didn't let it hold him down. In fact, he has come out swimming, scuba diving out the other side. Thank you so much for being with us today. I'm looking forward to our conversation.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Awesome. So tell us a bit about your story. So you're one of the survivors of the Bali terrorist bombings in 2002. That's obviously impacted your life in a significant way, but you haven't let it hold you down. So tell us a bit about that.
Well, I suppose Bali bombing in 2002 in the Sari Club in Bali was an experience you don't want to go through. It was a tragic event. It killed 202 people, 88 Australians, and, it's etched in your memory forever.
Yeah, I would imagine so. I imagine so. And up until that time, what was your job? What did you actually do?
Yeah, I've got a trade background as a cabinet maker. I started doing security in an early age of 20, came up to the Gold Coast, and at 22 years of age, started my security company, and that's now 37 years ago.
Yeah. So after this tragedy, you still continue to do security.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, it's something that I'm very passionate about. It's been a long life career of mine. My family is also full of protectors. My mother's a nurse, father, Nasho's brother, army reserves, and my pop actually fought in Gallipoli. So we've got a family full of protectors. So it's in my DNA.
So most people, if they go through some sort of tragedy like that, they would let it define them and possibly ruin them. But you continue to work, play. I know we've been on a boat together, your boat a few
Yeah.
times together, and jet ski. So tell us a little bit about, the impact of the Bali bombings and what you've actually been through and experienced.
Well, I suppose you can start with the mental scarring. What you witness and what you see with, we're not trained to see, hundreds of dead bodies and injured civilians, and nothing prepares you for that in life, not even, my security career where I've been injured myself. But when you look back at that, you then have to you have to pick yourself up, dust yourself off, and then try and show the courage and get on with your life, because otherwise the terrorists win.
Yeah, that's a good decision to make. And at the end of the day, it's a choice you make, right? I always say to
Mm.
people, like, you can choose. You get to choose what you want to do and how you're going to live the next part of your life.
Yeah.
Yeah. So did you get any support after that? Like, what did your support structure look like after you experienced that?
I did actually. That's a great question, because the support network I had was mostly family, parents, my brother and sister. Then it was my network of people, my Rotary Club, Chambers of Commerce, business, and of course my clients. I've got thousands of clients nationally, and there were fundraisers, there was support, there was pledges of we'll assist you in business. I had a business mentor. I had dinner with him last night, Don Stalker, and he has a whole range of McDonald's stores throughout the Gold Coast, and he gave me an opportunity to quote cameras and alarms through 6 stores, and it was good. He challenged me, and that's what I need. I like to be challenged, and it's a common thread in my life that if you challenge me, that I'll try and have that will to win, and I'll try and be better than the challenge itself.
Yeah, oh, look, I absolutely love that because you haven't allowed this to define you at
Mm.
all, but you've turned it into motivation and inspiration for others. So you've also written a book. So your book is called BOM BALI, Life After Death. So can you tell us a little bit about the book and why you wrote it and what you intend or how you intend to use it?
Well, the book was something that I wanted to tell my story. The story is that I do come out the other end, but it's a tragic story that, three mates go to Bali. Myself as a young business guy goes to Bali, gets caught up in a terrorist bombing. It then travels through what the eyewitnesses had of impacted them, their contact with me, and then I transcribed my mother's letter in that book. And the reason why I wanted and I was compelled to tell my story is that 2 years after Bali, that my mother suicided, and she wrote us a letter, and she wrote me a letter, and I transcribed that in my book. And she talks about how a mother feels when their son is maimed or nearly killed, and she writes about a message to other mothers of terrorists training to make bombs, and it's a very compelling story. An emotional book, but it's one of courage and success, because I do come out the other end, and I've been given a second chance at life, and I'm using it to the nth degree.
Yeah, I absolutely love that. So for the audience that are watching out there, Andrew has a boat and he's got a jet ski, and I've been on his boat and his jet ski, and he scuba dives, and he's out there playing. In fact, both of us were at Bali at the same time. Didn't get a chance to catch up, but both of us were at Bali at the same time. So he's out there living life more than most do. I can tell you that, more than
Guaranteed.
most do.
Yeah.
Yeah, and not letting any of it define you or hold you down, which is really awesome. So tell us about the rising with bubbles.
Well, yeah, being a scuba diver, I use that. I had a couple of things that I used as a strength. Not only training martial arts in the early teens, where my sensei said, if you have the will to win, you'll win. And I've carried out through my business career, both personal. And rising with the bubbles is when you're down there scuba diving, the only way up is to rise with the bubbles. You eventually have to get to the surface. And I use that as my motivator.
Yeah, I love that. That's
Mm.
super cool. And how do you use that book, as a business tool or as a getting speaking gigs tool?
Well, being my story, I'm very passionate about it. I love sharing my story with people, whether it's a paid speaking gig or it's free, for motivate and help people to actually help them get through. So one of the talks I did for Ray White was to help their sales team. And it was, if you think you're having a bad day, why don't you experience what this guy went through? So if you think you can't make the sales or get that listing, or you can't hit your KPIs, then, have a look at this guy, what he's had to achieve. So it's a motivator for me, assisting them to reach their goals and motivate them to be the best they can be. And I look at the audience when I'm talking, and it's just what I'm supposed to be here for. And when my mother said, you're here for some reason, your life's been spared for a reason, that I feel that's one of the things that I enjoy doing, and that I'm here to do, is help other people. Not only my security company protect them, but to motivate people to make them get the best out of their life, like I've got a second chance at mine.
Yeah, awesome. And unfortunately, a lot of people, because they haven't had that tragedy happen to them, they just take things for granted, right? They take life for granted. Awesome. So you do a lot of speaking gigs, and I know, we're trying to chat on Messenger the one time, and you're like here, and then I'm there, and then you're here, and we're there. And, I think it was in Fiji. Was it Fiji? Vietnam that you went to recently and presented at.
Yeah, I have. And the most recent one was Vanuatu. And I was sharing the stage with a guy called Chris Roach, and he's ex-Wallaby. And I was his first speaker, and I thought, well, I hope I can woo the audience and make an impact. And I did. I got a standing ovation. I sold all of my books. I've got 2 more speaking engagements offered to me. But yeah, I've met some amazing people through this. Stephen Bradbury, Katrina Roundtree. I've met all the prime ministers and given them my book, Mark Boros, etc. So in my minuscule life, I've been blessed to meet all of these people that motivate me, and to my surprise, they love hearing my story. It's amazing.
Yeah, I
And
love
unlike Steve Bradbury, I don't swear in my talks.
that. So my question is, prior to all of this, would you have considered or even thought about yourself as a speaker?
Absolutely not. No, I'm a salesperson, but I've never been a public speaker or storyteller. But I trained myself to do it, and I had some people assist me, and I'm so grateful for the opportunity.
Excellent. And I love that. I love the fact that, you've been given the second opportunity to inspire other people and to live your purpose on this earth. And you don't take it lightly. You went out and you actually got qualified or experienced in that space and got other qualified people to actually assist you so that you could be better in that space, so that you could do it better.
Yeah.
I love that. I do appreciate that a lot.
Yeah.
So you spoke about using your business like a business, using your book as a business card. Tell us about that.
Yeah, well, it's a privilege to write a book. It's a lot of hard work. So it took 4 months to write. We had to jump through a lot of hoops to do it. Legal documents. So if you're going to write to John Howard, the then Prime Minister, Alexander Downer, the Foreign Minister, and you need their statements, their photos, you've got to jump through all these legal hoops. So we were going through the Australian consulate in Bali, Canberra. John Williamson, who wrote True Blue and sung that at the anniversary. All these people were amazing. And then we needed to find some bystanders that had assisted me and been first responders. And we found them through the Australian consulate. We asked them and got in contact with those. It was a really emotional journey. Took 4 months to write the book. I hired a writer, and it's turned out to be something that now I can leave as my legacy, or that I can tell my story. And I would like to write another book about business, but gee, I don't know if I've got the courage.
I think you do. I think you do. That's something you're not lacking in. So with regards to writing that book, I mean, having to pull all of that out and look at all of that again, has that been therapeutic for you, or was it challenging but therapeutic? Like, tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, it's an excellent question. It was emotional.
Yeah.
Reading, so you would get an email from someone like Tony McKay, who was, I refer to him as my angel in the book, one of the angels that had pulled me across from the Surrey Club across the road out of the crater. And to read what happened, I wasn't aware of it. You're in and out of consciousness when you're suffering such a massive injury. And the other eyewitness accounts had then explained what occurred. I put that together with what I remember, and it was putting a jigsaw together. And it was a very emotional journey to find out the truth of what happened to you, what happened to others, what happened to two of my friends that died that night. And so it does. As you look or you talk about it in a presentation, I do naturally tear up, naturally get emotional. But then, hey, even big boys cry. So I'm not. Yeah, definitely. It's just an emotion that comes out. It's a natural emotion. It's an honest emotion, and yeah, I entitle myself to do it because it helps me as well to mentally deal with what I saw, what I witnessed, and what's etched in my mind forever.
So what are some of the sort of processes that you go through when you are sort of having a tough time? Are there any specific processes that you go through that help you get through it? Like for me personally, I mean, I obviously use breath work, I use exercise. Are there any things that you use?
There are, yeah. I had some counselling in Darwin when we were deployed from Denpasar Airport in Hercules AAF jets, and you arrive at Darwin and you're in and out of consciousness. But those things, and what I went through, 10 days in ICU, and then having to be coming out of that and being told what happened to you. You're missing limbs. So you're missing a leg above the left knee, and you're missing half right foot, and you got to come to terms with that. So I had some counselling in Darwin, and on occasions I refer back to that counselling, that you need to be your own person and be strong. You're not always going to have people around you, and that you have to be content and strong yourself. So rather than look at the negatives and have that hatred towards, or be racist towards bombers and things, I use that strength to then prop myself up, and I allow myself those emotional outlets. I tell this funny story about maybe watching TV and you see a movie and Lassie's pulled this kid out of the well and saved this kid's life, and then you just break down in tears. You just I like to let that emotion flow when it happens, and that's my mechanism for coping. And I'm a very strong person, and I'm a man, and men don't like to admit any weakness, but it's just a natural thing. Let it out, let it flow, and allow yourself that emotion so you can heal. And yeah, rather than being angry, I've allowed myself to use that strength to heal. I've had to. I've had to overcome 9 operations and then a whole lot of skin grafts, And then the fact that I've lost a couple of friends and a girl I was seeing in Bali died. So it's a lot to carry through. And then my mum's suicide. So yeah, it's a lot of weight to carry, but hey, I can do it. And I've got to tell myself, convince myself I can do it.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah.
And I think I mean I'd like to reframe the word weakness because for me I don't think it's weakness. I think it's vulnerability, and I think there's nothing wrong with a vulnerable man. A
Absolutely.
man who can express his emotions, because it's better than bottling it up, because when you bottle it up, that's when at some point it's going to explode.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's why you have menopause.
Yes.
It's for all the bottled up ones who
Yeah.
haven't been vulnerable. Um, so thank you so much for sharing all of this today. If there is any inspiration that you could give to somebody who's been through a tragedy or a trauma, and you'd like to inspire them to turn that tragedy into inspiration through either speaking or a book, what are some of the practical tips that you would give them?
Well, once again, it's a great question, and it draws me to a paragraph I use by Ann Landers when I finish my talk, and that is that the one useful bit of advice for all humanity would be that expect trouble as an inevitable part of life, and when it comes, hold your head up high, look it squarely in the eye, and say, "I'm bigger than you. I can defeat you," and then give yourself the most comforting words of all, that this too shall pass. That paragraph inspires me to know that life's not always going to be easy, and there's going to be setbacks, but I don't know, take them head on, deal with them if you can, get help from others and networks, friends, or professional help like I had, and then work through it. And I'm helping friends at the moment as well. They're getting through health issues, relationship breakups and things. And yeah, I'm quite proud that sometimes they come to me and I'm able to help them through my strength. But yeah, it's something I draw on is find something that motivates you, like scuba diving or doing something, or a passion that you've got, and try and do that and then set that goal. But for me, I know that there's going to be more inevitably might be health issues later in my own life, as I get older, and I'm going to have to deal with those. So I'm prepared, I'm ready, and I'm going to challenge myself to get through those.
Yeah, amazing. Amazing story. Thank you so much. So, for those of you who would like to connect with Andrew and have a copy of his book as well, it is a self published book. So, you can contact him on social media, which is Andrew Csabi. We will post all the links in the comments below as well. You can also check out his security company, which is AGC Pro-Tec Security on the Gold Coast. Thank you so much for sharing your story with us today.
Thank you.
And thank you to all those watching the Meaningful Marketing Podcast. If you haven't already, please push subscribe and turn on your notifications. And if you haven't already, we would love it if you could rate us and leave us a comment. Thanks so much again.
Thank you very much, Chantal.